Hey everyone, Chad again. This is a really quick video about Cloudblock and Cloudoffice, but specifically around which cloud provider to choose. If you're new to the cloud space and deploying services in the cloud, you may not be sure which cloud provider to use or even what your options are. So we'll try to address all of that here. I've had that question come up a few times in Discord, where I offer support if you have questions or comments or concerns. And if you do, there's a link to that in the description of this video or on the GitHub page. So hit me up if you have questions or comments. With that said, what is a cloud provider? A cloud provider is where you deploy virtual machines or virtual services in the cloud. They give you, so for example, if you need a database, all of these providers can in some way, shape, or form, or multiple ways, shapes, and forms, give you a database. If you need a virtual machine, a server running Linux or Windows, again, you can get one from these cloud providers. Generally, there's a month-to-month pay scale or hour-to-hour pay scale that adds up. And we're going to go over a bit of comparison for what they all offer. But we're going to start with who these cloud providers are. And I've got them listed here against the directories on the GitHub page. So Cloudblock and Cloudoffice support, the services themselves don't care which cloud provider you choose. They act the same whether you deploy to AWS or Azure, etc. So what is AWS? AWS is Amazon. Azure is Microsoft. DigitalOcean, Etsy is a special folder. It's a few different flavors of these providers, so we might be able to take advantage of some extra stuff, and I'll go into that in a little bit. GCP is Google. Lightsail is Amazon, but it's a fixed cost. There's a different pricing model from regular AWS versus Lightsail. OCI is Oracle, which is currently the best offering, surprisingly enough. PLAYBOOKS is for local deployments if you're deploying like on a local Ubuntu server or a Raspberry Pi device. And then SCW is Scaleway. Scaleway Special, they are the only non-USA company. Pretty cheap. So let's go over always free trials and credits. All of these providers in some way, shape, or form, well, maybe not Scaleway, but they all offer some sort of credit. We'll call it limited time credit. And that's best described, I think, on the Azure page. Azure, if you sign up for Azure today, and again, for all of these, this may change, or this video might become out of date as soon as I post it. You never know, but we're going to go with it. The question comes up so often, I thought it was worth it. But a limited time credit. So you get, if you sign up with Azure, they give you $200 to spend on Azure. Now, Cloudblock and Cloudoffice, they don't cost $200 to run in Azure. You know, it would take you a very long time, but you'll notice here in the smaller print, you only get 30 days to use that $200. AWS does the same thing. I don't know where, somewhere on this page, they tell you, hey, you know, we give you $100 or $200 or something like that. Oracle, they give you $300 in credits, but you only get 30 days to use it. DigitalOcean, you get $100 for 60 days, right? So they all offer you limited time credits. These expire before you can use them, essentially. And this is for Cloudblock and Cloudoffice. The Cloudblock and Cloudoffice are not super expensive to run in the cloud, and so you're just not, your credits are going to expire before then. Next, you have limited time trials. What is a limited time trial? This is something that isn't always free. It's a free trial, call it. Free service that expires eventually. And these usually last a lot longer than the credits. 30 days, 60 days, something like that, right? So a great way to look at that is going back to Azure. You'll see here, popular services free for 12 months, right? So you get the $200 credits that you can use in 30 days, but you also get some free stuff that expires in 12 months. One of those free things is a virtual machine. And you see that here, you get a B1S. That's what Microsoft has decided to call one of their small virtual machines. You get that for free for 12 months. And you'll see the 750 hours. There are 730 hours in a month. So you get a month of virtual machine for 12 months. Amazon is the same way. You get a T3 or T2.micro for 12 months. I think Google, actually, let me skip that. Google is not a good example of this same thing. So let me write that down in the notes. Free VM for 1 year. All right. And then we have always free. This is the golden option. This is something that doesn't expire until they get rid of it. And the two that get always free are Oracle and Google. GCP, and this one is OCI. What do you get always free with Oracle? This is the better of the two. Oracle, by the way, has a history of not being super friendly to businesses, not being super friendly to Linux, not being super friendly to the open source community. Things are changing in that landscape. And I think there's been a history of back and forth about that. I think in fairness to Oracle, or maybe not so much fairness, but just the bleak nature of this is that all of these companies, whether it's Amazon or Microsoft or Oracle or Google, they all have some sordid history of some sort, right? There's always some sort of controversy or drama when you get these companies of this larger size. Oracle in particular is one that doesn't make the news nearly as much. They're not a new company. They've been around for a while, but you know, if you ask someone that's been in the technology industry for a while and ask them about their opinion for Oracle, it's probably not favorable. But in this particular case, Oracle wants developers and systems administrators and technology people to use their cloud product, and there's a chance that will influence the company that these people work for to also switch to Oracle Cloud. Oracle is playing the game of trying to get people to use their cloud product, and we benefit from that. So what does Oracle give you? Oracle gives you they give you a lot. They give you 2 AMD-based instances, and then up to 4 ARM-based instances. And you can run Cloudblock or Cloudoffice on either. It's really nice. And the defaults for all of these cloud providers, so for example, we go back to this, even though you only get it for 12 months, there are people that still want to use AWS for Cloudblock or Cloudoffice, and you see how it's got a T3.micro instance there. If you were to go into the variables file, or like Azure, was that B1S, right? B1S, burstable virtual machine. If you look at the TFRs file, we deploy a B1S, unless you change it. So all the defaults kind of tailor to these free tiers. All right. Oracle, another thing I want to get to. So that kind of goes over limited time credits. These are credits that give you for like a very short amount of time. They expire before you get to use all of them. Not really worthwhile in the context of Cloudblock or Cloudoffice. The service is just cheaper than you won't get through them. Next, there's the free trial. Kind of nice. You get a year generally of virtual machines. That is AWS and Azure. They give you 1 year of a virtual machine. And then the always free. And this is the top dog, because you don't have to worry about it. That's Oracle and Google Cloud. So this goes over virtual machines. There are other costs associated with deploying in the cloud. Of course, it's basically a nickel and dime microtransaction scheme on steroids. But never fear, we can still work around that. Oracle in particular, when you set up an account with Oracle, they do require a credit card, mostly to prevent fraud. They're not going to charge you anything. They just need to validate that this is a real identity, whether it's a business-based identity or a personal person. When you sign up for Oracle Cloud and you create your account, the name, the address, the credit card all have to be under one particular identity, whether that's a business or a person. So keep that in mind. But they don't charge you anything. If you didn't have a free account, if you used AWS, if you use Lightsail, Google Cloud, Scaleway, whatever it is, there are other things that begin to get charged for. One of those is traffic. This is the big one. So there's the virtual machine, which is the server that runs Cloudblock or Cloudoffice. There's traffic leaving the cloud, egress. And there's encryption / storage. Well, these are two separate things, but we'll say encryption and storage. A couple notes. We won't dive super deeply into this. Traffic leaving the cloud, this is the next big one. So Cloudblock and Cloudoffice especially, if you put anything in the cloud, Cloudoffice is basically Google Drive that you host yourself in the cloud. You can put things in it and store things in it for free. You can upload to the cloud. They don't charge you anything. It's when you start downloading the stuff that you save there that they begin to charge you for. You can put your stuff in for free, but as soon as you start trying to take it out, you start trying to download it or share it with others and they can download it. That's when that's egress, that's leaving their cloud. And they have a cost associated with it, so they're passing that cost on to you. It's just nature of the beast. For a quick comparison, again, Oracle is top king. If we look at somewhere in here, 10 terabytes of outbound data transfers. Really nice. Google, on the other hand, in addition to only being in the United States, by the way, the free VM for Google Cloud, they only give you 1 gigabyte of network egress, right? And you can use that up. If you tried to watch Netflix with Google Cloud, or you tried to store a bunch of videos with Cloudblock and then download them, you could easily exceed one gig with Google. So keep that in mind. I mean, you're not gonna get a $1,000 bill for accidentally watching a YouTube video on the free tier, but it will start to rack up cents and dollars. So keep that in mind. Another thing to note is Cloudblock by default, there's a variable VPN underscore traffic. DNS is the default, and DNS traffic is very light. If you need to route all of your traffic through the VPN, there's an option, all. That's fine, but you're going to start incurring bandwidth. You're going to start using egress bandwidth, and that will cost you. So keep that in mind. What else do we have? Oh, and that's where Lightsail comes into play. So why would I have an option for AWS and another Amazon product, Lightsail? AWS, I don't know if they show here how much egress traffic you get. Let's see if they have they have compute. Maybe it's in here. Let's see, always free. Egress. Let's do a search for egress. Nope. Outbound. Nope. Transfer. I want to say, I don't see it here, but I want to say that they give you either 1 gig or 10 gigs of egress, right? So they're kind of in between. Oracle gives you 10 terabytes. That's pretty extreme. Google gives you 1 gigabyte. That's like the smallest amount possible. I want to say, I can't find it off the top of my head right now, searching around, but they give you somewhere in between that. With that said, if we go to light sale, their pricing is pretty fixed, and you get a bit more traffic. You get 1 terabyte. With their cheapest option, you get 1 terabyte. And you can run, it's not going to be pretty, but you can run Cloudblock with this smallest instance. Cloudoffice, I think I would suggest you stick with 1 gig of memory or more. Pretty cool. Let's go over the other, whoops. Let's go over the encryption. Encryption generally is free. So another thing to note is a lot of these, even AWS and Microsoft, they include encryption in their services. Google, it's very cheap, but they don't include it. You will expect to see like a couple pennies worth of charges for encryption. For example, where is encryption used? The disk that your virtual machine runs on, that's encrypted. The password for Pi-hole, if you deploy Cloudblock, there's a Pi-hole password that needs to be saved in the cloud, and that password is encrypted. That's an example. I mean, they're going to charge you a couple pennies a month for that. With that being said, if you really want to use Google, if we look at the Etsy folder, there's a GCP no encryption option. So I just removed encryption from the project, and you can deploy to Google without encryption. That'll remove that charge. While we're in the Etsy folder, there's another note here, OCI with Cloudoffice. So I'm on the Cloudblock project, and you may be watching this video because you want to deploy Cloudoffice. But keep in mind, if you want to deploy both, in the Cloudblock folder, there is an OCI with Cloudoffice. If you remember looking at Oracle, they give you 2 AMD instances and up to 4 ARM-based instances. Using this folder under Etsy, you can deploy both at the same time under a free tier. Really cool stuff. I will note, because it's so popular, one, going back to that credit card thing, the name has to match the account when you sign up. And 2, oftentimes they can be out of capacity. There are tricks. You can run a loop for Terraform to keep applying until it's successful. If you have questions about that or comments, reach out to me in Discord and we'll go over it and I can talk about that. I think that about wraps things up. I did mention storage down here. The last little note I'll bring up about that is these free trials like Azure. Somewhere in here, I don't think it's. So we'll look for storage. Archive. There's a lot of storage. Somewhere in here they talk about the disk that you get with your virtual machine. If we go to Azure and that vars file where we saw the B1S, which is what you get for free, you'll also notice you get a disk. It's 64 gigs. That's the amount that you get from Azure during your 12-month free trial. So for the most part, if you stick with the defaults, you're sticking with whatever like the free trial is that they offer, things are going to look good. So to recap, we've got Amazon. They give you 1 year. Microsoft, they give you 1 year. DigitalOcean, we didn't really talk about it, but it is super cheap. It's like $5 a month. If you don't want to mess with some of the bigger names, you just want a fixed cost and not worry about it, DigitalOcean is a great way to go, $5. They do give you some credits if you want to try it out for a month or two. Those are those limited time free credits. The Etsy folder. This folder. This is for special flavors of the deployments. Maybe you want to deploy Cloudblock and Cloudoffice at the same time in Oracle, or you want to deploy GCP Cloudblock, but you don't want to pay for encryption. Check out the Etsy folder for some special flavors. GCP is Google. You get a free virtual machine in the USA, but you only get 1 gigabyte of egress traffic. Keep that in mind. It's fine if you're using Cloudblock only for DNS traffic. DNS traffic is super light. It would be very difficult to get DNS only traffic to use 1 gig of egress. So it's still a viable option. Light sale, is Amazon, but it's a fixed cost like DigitalOcean where you just pay like $3.50 a month or $5 a month. You also get a little bit more egress. Oracle, the best current option, always free, 10 terabytes of egress, but it's Oracle. You could say the same thing. You know, I like to poke fun at Oracle, but you really, to be fair, you could say the same thing about Google. It's Google, you know, don't be evil, whatever, or do no evil, whatever it is. Microsoft, I mean, Windows, come on. Amazon, same thing. None of them are squeaky clean companies. But Oracle does give you the best options. Playbooks, that's for local deployments. If you have an Ubuntu server or a Raspberry Pi. Scaleway, the only non-USA company. Oh, and I didn't mention this. They're super cheap. They don't charge for egress, at least that I can find. I'm sure if you abused Scaleway services and you did 10 terabytes of traffic in a month or something, they're going to shut you down or write you an angry email. But Stardust, which is the default I set in the vars file, you can certainly change it if you want, is $2. I did the conversion. It's $2.04 USD a month. They also suffer from capacity problems like Oracle does. I mean, it's super popular because it's so cost effective. But if you need to avoid a United States company, you're willing to pay a couple bucks a month, and you want to run your own service, Scaleway may be your best bet. That's it, everyone. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, reach me on Discord. There's a link in the description of this video and on the GitHub page at the very bottom. That's whether this is about Cloudblock or Cloudoffice or anything else in particular. If you've come across these projects and it's inspired you to do something more, I'd be more than happy to talk about it. Thank you so much. Take care and have a great day.